Abdullah, former candidate in the country's presidential election. Mr. Abdullah, thanks for being online with us tonight. Well, as we've seen, there are a huge push today, 70 nations taking part in London to try and steer Afghanistan in a new direction for a better future. Are you confident, though, that they and your country will get there?
I think the fact that the international community has recommitted itself to supporting Afghanistan, that in itself is a welcoming news. But part of the job will depend on the Afghan partner, the Afghan government, which in its best position had failed to deliver the promises which they have made to the people of Afghanistan as well as to the international community. How could that factor change? How everybody is convinced today that the same government, the same leadership, the same system will function better in order to assume responsibility in the best way so it can relieve the international community of their at least military and security responsibilities in the coming years. That's a big doubt. That's a big question.
So what you're saying is there needs to be a change at the top. All the talk in London's great, the amount of cash you want to push it at is great, but unless there's a change at the top, i.e. Hamid Karzai, it isn't going to go anywhere, yeah?
I think the past record of Mr. Karzai and his cabinet has been what we have and what has led the country to this situation. And that has been the main cause. That has not been the only cause, but has been the main cause of the deterioration of the situation. At this stage, that he is sort of half legitimate, with half cabinet, with less than half commitment to what he says, that has been his method throughout. So what's the sense of optimism? So I'm doubtful that that it will yield the results that everybody is expecting from it.
I mean, some of the doubters would say you're, of course, going to say that because you were running for that job against him at one point during the last elections. But do you not think in London he may have been rumbled by now? Do you think that he has got any backing at all there?
No, I think I'm saying it as an Afghan, which I'm concerned about the future of my country, regardless of my position as a candidate. I'll be as an opposition leader and push for the ideas for change. That's a different issue. But 4 years ago, I was in London, in the foreign minister, in a conference around the same time, exactly around the same time. There were some huge commitments on behalf of the government, and the government failed to implement any of those, most of those, I should say. So it's the same way. If it does work, I'll be a happy man, regardless of what my ideas are.
And don't you think it's probably time to get behind Hamid Karzai, to put the politics aside and to join in with this group of 70 countries to try and build a better future?
Now, I think he is calling for the Taliban to join the government while he's losing the people which are supportive of the process, which are behind the democratic process. I think as a whole, I see that there are some illusions in his part, which I'm not responsible for it. And unless he accepts the realities of Afghanistan and find a way how to bring the people together, all the people, I think the problem in Afghanistan will continue.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that point. A lot of talk in London about reaching out to the Taliban, trying to reintegrate them back into society. Now, basically, you're saying that's a non-starter, yeah?
I think they're talking about something which it takes two sides, Taliban, the Afghan side, or the international community altogether. Taliban are saying that we will not be bribed. They are not there to be recruited as carpenters or as masons or painters. They are not there. And the fact that Taliban are working so intimately with the Al-Qaeda, that has been ignored. I think the first step which the Afghan government can take is to deliver to the people of Afghanistan, so Taliban do not have more recruits from the people which are not Taliban in first place. So to hope that they will bring Taliban back, what has changed in the policy? The only change is that there is some $149 million in first year and later on more commitment in order for the project of reintegration. But reintegration is, I think, is under some illusion at this stage because the policy is not a national policy. It has not been nationally debated. It's not transparent. And how it will going to work, let's see.
Mr. Abdullah, is there any light at the end of the tunnel here? If you were in London and everyone was listening to what you thought about it, what would you be suggesting should be done now then?
I think, first of all, apart from the commitments from both sides, then the implementation policy has to be clear. What is the way that all these commitments will be implemented? And there has to be pressure on the government of Afghanistan in order to implement or to deliver those commitments. Secondly, in terms of a solution for Afghanistan, the door for reconciliation, national reconciliation, has to be wide open. But at the same time, the real problem, which is the growing gap between the government and the people of Afghanistan, has to be addressed. That could be addressed through changing the system. The system is a highly centralized system, and all the decisions for all villages in Afghanistan are being taken in the presidential palace. And the corrupt governors are being recycled from one province to the next. So that system does not work. So there has to be an effort in order to make the people of Afghanistan participants and to restore the real strength of the people, which is in its people, not in NATO forces, not in more national army or national police.
Mr. Abdullah, thank you for coming onto the programme tonight and speaking with RT.